Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, I am looking at a oil painting by Charles H. Chapin from 1870s, and I'm doing a study of it in watercolor. I taped this 5x7 down to about 3x7 for a 1 to about 2.3 ratio, just looking for that more panoramic view. And the main focuses of this is looking at the yellows, oranges, reds, and browns for a scene, as well as some finding a way to create a certain type of texture with leaves. So that being said, I do have a big palette of colors out, and this is kind of just so I can hone in on what I'm looking for. I'll start off with the, what is it called? I have a list of all the things. Naples yellow. Use that to kind of map out the scene and get an idea of where I want everything to be. The horizon comes up pretty high. I'm using a #1 squirrel or quill brush, mop brush from See Me Art. I got it off of Temu, and I really like it. I wound up buying another one of it for like $4. And of course, Percy's hair is everywhere. Okay. I have quite a bit of yellow here. I'm going to wind up using probably the Quin Gold and the new Gamboge. Let's grab some Quin Gold. Let's see. We're going to need to go a little bit more on the orangey side. So let's just see the Gamboge. All right. I'm going to have to look for some other colors for that spot, or feed some other things in. I'm grabbing the Gamboge. This will be the sky coming up. It gradiates kind of into a slight gray. So I'm going to grab ultramarine, which is about here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe this is ultramarine. Let me put it out. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to look for a slight gray. Let's see how that in the Naples yellow mixes. Okay. That's what I'm going to look at there. And I think I'll add an earth red. So just kind of going down my list, I have my Venetian red and I have Indian red that I'm going to look at. See how this mix, just looking for an orangey tone. And we do have a little bit of orange side in the sky. So one of the things was setting up this huge palette of different colors so that I can then kind of isolate individual paintings to certain different colors without having to set up a whole bunch of tubes. Okay. Now, in the background before the horizon, we have another scenario of the grays. They're a little bit stronger, so let me see that. And well, ultramarine of Venetian red is going to give a purple. I can then maybe just try a little bit of my Naples yellow into that. Let's see. Okay, that'll work. So kind of mixing on the paper, the surface itself, while also mixing onto this palette right here. Now, unfortunately, where I'm kind of feeding it in and now it's wet and wet, I have to be careful of the quantities of water on the brush. More water on the brush will cause some issues whenever we are just kind of feeding it in. It's going to give you the cauliflower effect. I'm going to add an earth yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to grab the Daniel Smith Goethite. This is more of a brown. I'm just kind of looking to modulate the color back and forth. And I think I'll use that in larger quantities, just to kind of block out this landmass here. All right, so it'll be about here. Okay. Then we have a distant landmass in this region, and I can look at mixes with the ultramarine. So let's see how that'll look. That with the brown gives another gray. If I want to pull moisture out of the brush, pinch it at the base right there. There we go. So in the painting world, for me, I haven't really done too much color mixing since college, where color mixing was what we had focused on, and then I kind of moved away from that with limited palettes and experimentation there. But looking at these old masters, who probably didn't have a whole bunch of colors either on their palette, I'm just looking to get ideas and different vibes from different palettes. Okay. That'll be interesting there. I'll probably have to leave this area alone just because it's so saturated. And with this approach, just grabbing some burnt umber to mix with the ultramarine. So this is going to go into being a foreground landmass. Probably should cut it a little bit more, but we'll be okay. Okay. This is a raw sienna. Just looking to see what that would give me in the sky, if that would help me push a little bit towards an orange. Really not so much. Okay. Gamboge. All right, that's making it pop a little bit more. Let's just gradiate that up. And I'm going to go strong with that again in this region. Venetian red. Okay. And we had used some earth brown here. All right, I'm going to pause the camera for a dry off, and we'll see where we're at. All right. So it's dry for the most part. I'm going to now go in with hopefully stronger pigments. I'm going to really look at this ultramarine and brown earth mixes. Let's see. I might cut out some distant mountains and just work with this layer of trees and then a closer layer. Okay, bring down reflections. This tapers back. We have some movement. We have some trees that grow up and very big poof balls on top. So this is kind of just scribbling in and seeing what happens there. Okay. There's a nice earth red. I'm going to look at the Indian red. Now look for a dark. That'll be ultramarine and the burnt umber. Start getting textures and form in here. Okay, comes up. And we wound up having a tree in this location. I'm not going to put that tree in just yet. I want to explore a little bit more with the sky. That's an outcropping of rocks. Let's grab some brown earth into this mix. And I'll even grab some yellow ochre. Just looking for a random variety rather than just a flat color. And I'll even take the paper towel for some texture. I want to explore either white gouache or something else in the sky. Let's see, buff titanium. Okay, that's way too gray, and I went in way too strong. But let's try to make this work for us. So I set up a separate palette with some gouaches, and in there I have the white gouache. So I'm just going to grab straight from the tube, not from the tube, but from the pan, and it's not super dry, so let's explore that. All right, I'm going to pause for a quick dry off. The white gouache does have a tendency to lift when glazing over that, but I am going to grab the gamboge. There we go. Do we get that bright effect? There we go. It seems to be very heavily influenced by having the white gouache underneath. Just gradiate it. Here it is, not over white, and you can see the difference. I'm gonna take the chance, feed in a little bit of Venetian red. Spread that around a little bit. Okay, let's do a dry off. Okay. Brown earth. This current color there just feels a little lifeless. So let's see what we can do. These were the poofball trees. Let's move over to this area. Now there's some greens out there, but I think I want to develop my darks even more. I do have Van Dyke Brown out, the Daniel Smith one, which acts as a really good dark. And see if we can get some textures and ideas. So I think I'm going to try this tree, but stippling in. So what I do is I just put my finger on the pad itself and I just kind of tap it like that. And that creates the dots. I am tempted to maybe grab a bristle brush and seeing how that would work. I don't want to try a fan brush because the fan brush has a tendency to just create too much of a set pattern for me. Okay. All right, let me do a quick dry off to see what's going on. All right, so I have a green gold. I want to kind of glaze over it with that and see what that will create. I do have some sap green. Okay, I am pulling up some pigment from underneath. I didn't dry it that well. So let's switch to our earth red. Not dry enough either. Let me go back and dry this and fix it. All right, I grabbed a bristle brush and I'm gonna grab some more of that Van Dyke brown. Okay, that might be the way to go for tiny stippling. It does look a little wild, but I think it's better than the single point stippling. It is obviously faster. Grab a little bit of water. Yep. So moisture control is going to be paramount if I continue to use this for stippling. And since we introduced a new brush, let's grab the number 1, which the number 1s have been giving me trouble lately. I don't know if they're just past their age or if I didn't clean them well enough, because you can see that I'm pulling paint right off of this. With that being said, I do want a dark on it. And let's see how thin I can get. So this requires a really light touch in order to get thin lines. I think I want a stipple in here as well. And I'll go with my green. It's again too much. Let me move away from that for a little bit. Grabbing a stronger gamboge. Stronger right in there. Feed some. Just going for some buff titanium. All right, I'm gonna grab some burnt umber. That's not how I want that to look. Okay. Quick dry off. I'm going to use this guy to put a little water down and try to lift. There we go. Let's do a little bit there. There we go. We got a little bit lifted up there. Maybe lift out a little cloud in here. I didn't really plan on lifting that much in this fashion, but you can see how it's definitely an easy, viable technique for other cloud effects. And pull a little bit out there. All right. Even pull out in there. All right, so that definitely helped to add a little bit more dynamicism to it. There we go. I'm making up words. In fact, I can do the same thing to lift out some textures and rocks. There we go. So selectively pulling out some highlights or some contours adds a little bit extra. A whole bunch of little white flowers here, so I'll stipple. You can of course splatter or paint it in with a gouache, but since we're going with this one technique, okay, gives us a little something extra. Now, rather than just having this tree here, I want to bring a little bit out. Okay, this is the Van Dyke Brown. Okay. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the earth red with this brush and see what we can do with that. Kind of dapping it off on here. Then there's some really strong darks. And I have a Daniel Smith Lunar Black out on the palette. I'm gonna seek out some darks. I think I might have used this a little bit once earlier in the painting, but I called it Van Dyke Brown. Just a FYI. So I'm just looking for some shadow ridges amongst all the foliage and rocks. And exploring to see if this is just a easy, viable way to go in and do that. There's a little grayed out outcropping of rocks, and I pushed it in too far together, but I think it'll be worth grabbing some buff titanium and gray, seeing how that might work. Because there's a deer standing on it. I want to see if we can put that in. I am not a big fan of trying to pull paint off of dried paints using the rigger brush. That's quite difficult, for me at least. And there's a deer right there. Turns around and looks back. So let's see. Does not read the best. I'm going to do a quick dry off. All right. I'm going to bring that deer out. Very, very choppy. Not the biggest fan of that. There's a lot of fallen branches. So I'm going to start summing this up as I explore these. I think first and foremost, like I said, I've been struggling with the rigger, so I need to come up with a different way of handling it, trying to get small lines on this scale. So that's worth pursuing. Using the rigger to lift on this size is fantastic and really does help get those really small lifts. So that is a plus. The very cheap frayed the oil brush did help give some interesting textures there. And actually, let's grab a little bit of gouache as one last thing. With this brush itself and see what's possible texture-wise. And I think the obvious next step is to glaze over that white. So I'm going to pause, dry off, and we'll glaze. All right, so there was obviously some positives to this experiment and some learning opportunities. So hopefully that was there. Overall, I do feel it's a little choppy and worth experimenting, handling better on a smaller scale. So we'll leave it at that, and I will be back with more videos. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and follow, and you all have a great day. Oh wait, I want to tear off the paper. All right, when you tear paper tape off, just pull it away from the side. Okay, so if it does tear, it tears out, not over the painting. All right, I hope you enjoyed. You all have a great day. Take care.